Hello and welcome. I am Matt Roddy, and this is the Greater Prescott podcast, where we talk about, you guessed it, all things Greater Prescott. Today, I am at Skull Valley Lavender Farm with Will Duncan. Will, thank you so much for having me on the farm.
It's a joy. It's a pleasure. Thanks for coming out.
When I decided to name the podcast, the Greater Prescott podcast, what I have learned in just 2 years of being in the Prescott area is just how diverse the entire area is.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm out in Skull Valley today, which is fun because there's a whole different world out here that I think makes this area really interesting.
And you probably thought it was further away than it was.
Like I told Will, it took me 22 minutes from the Circle K at the main intersection to get here.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
I know.
Actually, it takes us that long to get to church in Prescott Valley.
Yeah,
spot on 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, see the things you learn.
I know.
So in today's episode, you are going to get to learn about Will, some of the things he did when he was little, when he was growing up. We're just going to have a conversation. Right. We're going to get to talk, obviously, about the lavender that smells amazing right now.
It's pretty good.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
I wish you could get things like that across the microphone and video screen, because this is a treat. It really is. So I hope you guys look forward to learning also just what it's like being a lavender farmer, which is, as we've already talked a little bit about, it's unique, to say the least.
Yeah, it's a good life.
So to set the context, just tell people where you were born and raised, some of the stuff you did when you were a kid, just kind of set the context and let people know who you are.
I was born and raised in Connecticut, just outside of New York City. Had a great childhood, lots of land.
Okay.
We lived lots of open land.
Yeah.
Right on Long Island Sound. So I grew up in marshes, and then we had thick woods all around us. So I spent most of my time outside. Okay. Probably had about 5 different forts all over the place. Had a canoe. Spent a lot of time in ponds. Okay. So really outdoor life. And this was before remote controls on televisions, and when you actually had to get up and change the channel, and we had
You're not that old.
No, I swear we had 4 channels to choose from, and our only video game was Pong, which is a huge console and with 2 knobs. Okay. So not a lot of time in front of the computer, in front of the TV.
That's good. I think that's great.
It was great. It was a great upbringing. And then I left 2 days after I graduated high school. Okay. And I spent a year hitchhiking around the country. I was just dying to know about the country.
Interesting. What was it? Why do you want to know about the country? Because I would have loved to do that.
Yeah.
I just like traveling.
Yeah. No, I do too. I was just really curious. I was curious about identity, actually. I was curious about, I remember I was in a sociology class, and we discovered role loss. Okay. Now, role loss is what you go through when you're you retire or you lose a loved one, or the roles that you've associated yourself with, like, I'm a father or I'm a businessman, and then those fade away, and then who are you? So I was like, well, wait. Who am I besides the roles? I got so interested in high school in this class, and I was like, what if I imposed role loss on myself? And then I could see what was there, So I thought, well, how could I do that? And I realized the best way to do that would be to go somewhere where I didn't know anybody and remove all of my possessions and all of the people around me.
Almost starting from scratch in a sense.
Yeah, and just kind of remove all the roles, strip it down, and then see what remains. Yep. So that was the impetus for leaving home. And I also always really was attracted to monasticism. So I was like, also in the back of my mind, I was like, maybe I'll find a monastery and join a monastery. Yeah. I was 18. I was super naive and idealistic. So I took off.
That's most 18-year-olds.
I know. Now, I had never been west. I'd seen Karate Kid. That was my view of California.
What's west to someone in
Connecticut?
On the East Coast.
I should say I'd never been to California. Okay. But I had probably never been, I'd been to Colorado. So I had never been to California. And so I decided to sell everything I owned. Yep. I had a week-long yard sale, and I sold. I had a lot of possessions as a kid. I had a lot of musical instruments. I was really into music, so I sold everything. I made a couple $1,000s, which was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then I bought a one-way plane ticket to California, to San Francisco.
Wow.
And I had no plan outside of that.
Yeah. It was a one-way trip.
Again,
we go.
the naivete of 17, 18-year-olds. I guess I was 18. So I landed in San Francisco, and it didn't hit me until I was sitting in the airport. I got off the plane, and then I was like, oh no. What am I supposed to do tonight? You know, the grand scheme of totally, the grand scheme of find your identity. That was one thing, but what am I going to do tonight? You know? So I think I sat in the airport for 3 hours just freaking out.
That's hilarious.
And then I took a BART or something to the Golden Gate Bridge. And then, I got all the way to Golden Gate Bridge. And then I just hitchhiked in the little parking lot there. And that began a year-long journey of hitchhiking around the country.
No kidding.
Going to monasteries. I also had a wonderful teacher as a child, and he gave me a list of really beautiful, almost saint-like people to visit. So I visited them, but I probably traveled, I don't know, maybe 10 states. So not all over the country, but I stayed mostly west.
Okay.
And that was about a year of that. So that was kind of...
What were a couple highlights of places that you went to or experiences that you had?
Big Sur was mind-blowing. I mean, to an East Coast kid, it was wow.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I was born and raised in Tucson.
Yeah.
And I get similar feelings when I went back east for the first couple times. I mean, it's just drastically different.
Yeah.
Obviously, Big Sur.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just... It's nice.
It's
level.
mind-blowing. Yeah.
It really is.
And I think also the big trees in Washington is wow. Again, I'd never been in old growth forests like that. And they were just cathedrals, you know. The way that the old growth trees absorb sound is so much like some of the big cathedrals in Europe, you know. It just kind of is a whole different sound quality, and it's just
I've never thought about that.
I found it awe-inspiring and just so sacred. So those were probably two of the big highlights. But I also a highlight was that the creepy people to beautiful people ratio is a lot larger than the news would portray it. Of course, I came across some creepy people, but the ratio was so small. I was like, wow, people are amazing.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
People are amazing.
And generous and kind.
Yeah.
I think I was on my third night of hitchhiking, and I was sleeping in a park. I just slept in parks on the side of the road, and I had met this old-timer who has obviously been homeless most of his life, and he the next morning he's like, I can tell you don't know much, so I'm going to tell you a few things.
Hey.
You could just tell I was so ignorant, you know. And he said you need to go and buy a button-down shirt and a tie.
Okay.
And I was like, what for?
Where are you going with this?
He's like, you just want to hitchhike with a button-down shirt and a tie.
Okay.
I was like, okay. And I followed his advice, and I can't tell you how many people picked me up, and the first words they said was, I never pick up hitchhikers. Oh. But, you know, I've never seen a hitchhiker in a tie. And that was a real game changer. Huh. I sleeping in parks, but I would take the button-down shirt out, try to press it as best as I could.
You take good care of that thing.
Yeah.
That's like your new one-way ticket.
Yeah. And he taught me a lot of other stuff on how to look in a car before you get in, and just basic, but stuff I just had no idea about. But that button-down shirt and that tie was like the best advice.
Oh man.
Yeah. So anyway, that was that.
Yeah. So you did it for about a year.
I did it for about a year.
Well done.
Yeah. And then I did about 3 more years of different kinds of travel and exploration and living in monasteries and my high school band got back together, and we all moved to Burlington, Vermont, and put out some recordings, and so just some different stuff.
Yeah.
And then about 4 years into it, I just felt uneducated. I was like, I want to get an education.
Okay.
And really like this thirst for knowledge.
Yep.
Kind of like when I left home, I had this thirst for
getting on the
seeing
road,
the world and being on my own. And then I had this equal thirst for knowledge. And I called a friend of mine, his mother, who I was close with. And I said, Betsy, I'm thinking about going to college. And she said, Will, the only college that you would thrive in is Prescott College.
Okay.
And I was actually, funny enough, at the time I was living on Prescott Road in Santa Cruz, California. And,
All right.
And I said, okay, I'd never heard of it, but
Yeah.
I checked it out. I came out here. I loved it. And because she knew I was such an outdoorsy person. And
Gotcha. Okay.
and I was not like looking for the mainstream route, you know. And so, I went to Prescott College. That was 25 years ago. Went there, loved it, got a degree in psychology.
Okay.
Then worked in mental health for years, mostly in Arizona and then in Alabama. Lived in Alabama for a while.
What type of work were you doing?
I was
more
working in
specifically?
community mental health and more specifically with abused kids.
Okay.
And community mental health can be exhausting, underfunded and exhausting. And so
Here's a side note.
Yeah.
I have a degree in psychology.
Oh, you do?
So
Yeah.
That's why I asked you specifically. And
Yeah.
it's challenging.
Yeah.
And it hardly matters what area you work in.
Yeah.
But even more so, as soon as you get into the kiddos, man, stuff
No,
really amps up.
And I
the
got
level of,
traumatized, secondhand trauma, and it's just really hard. I tend to be
it's a
sensitive
tough
and
career.
yeah. So eventually I got out of that, but and then years and years, a lot of adventures, a lot of different stuff, living different places and different countries, and then. I was actually, I usually do 2 lecture tours a year, and I was over in Asia, and we were living in Tucson, my partner Ann and I, and we were looking for a new place to live, and she said, I just got a job in this town called Prescott, Arizona. This was 6 years ago.
Small world.
I know, and I was like, we were thinking about New York City or Philly as mostly the 2 places we were looking at. And I was like, I would love to live in Prescott again. Yeah, so I was so psyched.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Let's back up. So you said you've done some world traveling.
Yeah.
If I had all the money in the world, I don't want the money for the money.
Yeah.
I want to travel. I would love the opportunity to just go places and just be able to experience things. You know, your story of hitchhiking for a year is fascinating to me. Just the idea that you just get to see what the world has, and it is you can speak to it much better, but it is a vast world full of people with vast experiences. And so talk about that. Where'd you go? What were those trips like and things like that?
Yeah. My first travel was, I think, was a year in India.
Okay.
And I was always fascinated by India. I went to music school for 2 years studying classical North Indian music.
Whoa.
And then I really just wanted to go to India. So I went there kind of under the pretense of studying music.
Okay.
But it was just kind of an excuse. Although I studied hard. I mean, I played probably about 5 hours every day.
Whoa.
And I had lessons every single day.
Holy cow.
And one time I told my teacher, I said, I need a break. Like I've been here for months and all I do is sit in my room and play music, And he was really reluctant to let me take a break, but I eventually took off. And then I went and did the tourist stuff, which was wonderful. But what he said in his classic accent, which I won't try to reproduce, but he said, I lived in a city called Varanasi, which is called the City of Death, and it's where all Hindus go to die. So all along the river, there's burning ghats where they're burning dead bodies day and night. So it's this really surreal city, and it's considered one of the holiest cities in India, and the whole economy is based on this process of dying, and cremation. And so anyway, he said, and so people that live in Varanasi, also called Benares, find it very sacred. And he said, Benares is the microcosm of India.
Okay.
Like, you want to travel and see all of India, all you have to do is stay here in Benares. Well, first he said classical Indian music is the microcosm of Benares.
Okay.
And he said Benares is a microcosm of India. And he said India is a microcosm of the entire world.
Okay.
He said, so if you want to know the entire world, all you have to study is classical Indian music. And this is how he was trying to talk me out of travel.
Yeah.
And he said, so don't go anywhere. Just stay with your studies. And I said, that's really poetic and beautiful.
Right.
And I'm going to see the Taj Mahal.
Yeah, see ya.
So I
need
took
a
off.
break.
I took off probably for about a month.
Okay.
I kept my apartment, and
Yeah.
it was great because if you have an apartment in India, I mean, you don't have to travel with much at all.
Gotcha.
So I had a little satchel, and it just allowed me to travel really easily,
Yeah.
even by
That's
camel
awesome.
or by train, and it was.
Man.
So that was wonderful. So I spent
Okay.
a month doing that, and then I was really quite happy. And I did see what he meant, and I was very grateful to come back and go back into
the
classical
old
music.
sage.
But I do love North India. I find it magical. I've been back there a couple times.
Okay. Good.
And then the other places I've traveled is all for lecturing.
Okay.
So I guess I've lectured in maybe about 12 countries. So
Okay.
a little bit, but not wide. And so not a lot of like downtime where I'm just traveling and enjoying.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Just kind of working but still I do love being on the road.
Okay.
I also love traveling in America. I mean, it's such a diverse country,
It's wildly diverse.
And I never get tired of it. So January is the lavender farmers' holiday.
Okay.
Because there's nothing going on.
Gotcha. Yeah,
No
it's not
watering
growing
and
season or anything.
So I usually take off January. Sometimes I do solitary meditation retreats, but oftentimes I'll also just go wander.
Yeah.
And this year I did a wandering trip where I was flipping coins when I got to major intersections and just letting chance take.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
Well, where'd chance take you?
I ended up going west.
Yeah.
And which was great. And then I ended up going, once I hit the west coast, I flipped to go south.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like kind of in Encinitas area and I kind of like along the ocean.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful over there.
It is. But, when you do kind of chance trips like that, there were a few nights, and I don't get much holiday, but a few nights you're in a super depressing hotel in some middle coast town. And it's like, what am I doing? And why didn't I plan this trip? Why didn't I do this smarter? And then other times you like meet somebody and like, you got to check this place out. And you're like, I never would have found this had I planned the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a give or take. I can't say one way is better than the other, but it's like they both have their benefits, like planning a trip and we're going to stay here this night and there, there's something.
So you've
beautiful.
Sprinkled in lecturing.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell myself and the people what you're referring to?
Yeah, so I lecture. I mean, that's how I make my living. Turns out I can make a living lavender farming, which I thought I could.
Yeah.
Again, another level of naivete. And we're still trying.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did the finances the first couple of years, it was pretty depressing. I actually think I started crying in my accountant's office. But so for
many of us business owners have done just that.
But for about 12 years, I've lectured on. I do corporate meditation instructions. Okay. And then I lecture, do yoga teacher trainings.
Okay. How much do you travel for that? Obviously, we're in the times of COVID, so I'm sure things have changed.
Yeah, everything's online, and I teach a lot online right now.
All right.
Actually, starting a series this week in Asia.
Nice.
So I teach a lot in China and Taiwan.
Okay.
So I travel to those places a lot.
Okay.
So and so I'm still doing that just online.
Yeah.
And then I travel. So I used to travel. I used to do 2 tours a year. Mm-hmm. Each tour was about 2 months.
Wow. That's.
And then now I'm down to 1 tour a year.
Okay.
But this year, that will be canceled.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
no kidding.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good chunk of time.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. Which actually for you, it sounds like that's kind of nice in a sense. Like you don't have any problem leaving for a month or 2 at a time.
Yeah.
And just sort of
I was excited to not travel because I've been doing it for years.
True.
And I was like, I couldn't wait to just work the farm. And then I realized, I can't make this work financially.
Yeah.
So I'm back on the road.
I gotcha. That
it's
makes sense.
A beautiful combination. I mean, I love waking up and working out here.
So then, why don't you give people a sense of the farm, how long you've had it? And I would like you to share just some of the challenges that have come because this is real life.
Yeah, totally real life.
This is just how it goes. I'm also just going to check my camera.
Yeah.
You just keep talking.
Okay.
Grab some water.
Yeah. So I bought the farm We bought the farm, and and now I know what that term means. We bought the farm because the first 2 years were really pretty hellacious. So I guess we're entering our 5th year now.
Oh wow!
If I'm correct. And we bought it from Bob and Anita Schelling. They started the Lavender Farm, Skull Valley. So we bought the property and we bought the business.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything about lavender. I had no innate interest in the plant at all.
Yeah.
I was looking for land that had some business attached to it.
Makes sense.
And we were looking at a piece of land in Cochise Stronghold that made brooms. They actually made the brooms for the Harry Potter movie. Really beautiful hands done.
Say, those
brooms.
are real. Those are pieces of art.
Yeah. So the brooms self are like $100 to $300 a broom.
Okay.
And so we were looking at that, and the place was beautiful. And then I just kind of got cold feet and felt like in the middle of nowhere. So then we ended up with this place.
Okay.
And the first 2 years were really rough. We've been dealing with some root rot, which has taken, as I mentioned to you, has taken probably about 500 plants, wiped them out.
Yeah.
And so it's really, I've realized it's like having, so we have about 1,000 plants here, 12 different varieties. These are some of the different varieties, and you can see how different they are, like in terms of length and color.
Yeah.
It's really diverse, and I've really come to love the different varieties, and I can sense the difference in the smells, and so it's been a lot of fun. But so we lost about 500 plants, but it's like having, and we have about 1,000 left, and it's like having 1,000 children like staring at you, and like I'm like, do you want more water? Do you want less water? What do you want from me? Yeah, and they're just like crying, and and we kept we kept losing them, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And so finally, I started working with the university and testing the roots, and they said, you're just dealing with some root rot, and there's not a lot you can do about it. Okay. The main thing that this root rot feeds on is overwatering. So just have to really find that fine line between not watering too much and not overwatering. Mm-hmm. So I called like every lavender farmer I could in similar terrain and altitude, and just slowly honing in on like a watering system. So and every year I hone it a little bit more, but it's really an art. You're just kind of trying to feel your way around. And,
that's fascinating.
But so it was a steep learning curve. It was also like 10 to 12-hour days, 7 days a week. And it's just like Murphy's Law, like we, signed on the dotted line, and then it was like 4 days later, things started breaking. Okay. Irrigation systems, the swamp cooler broke and leaked into the house. The washing machine broke and flooded the floors. It was like one thing after another, you know. Right. And it was like, oh my God, what have I done? First couple of years were pretty rough. And then after all of that work, I looked at my finances, and we had made, and this is an established business, just came in. I mean, within the first week, I was at the farmer's market making money on the farm. Yeah. But just in case anybody's interested, the first year, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, I had profited $3,000. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. And that's not including like mortgage or that's just, and that's not paying myself at all. That's just like straight profit. Just the, so that was rough.
A rude awakening.
Yeah. And then I've come to terms with that. I've kind of worked out the work schedule, and things are kind of evening out. And now I just feel so grateful to be out here. And I've absolutely fallen in love with lavender. Yeah. Like with the plant itself, and just with communing with the different plants. And so it's been really magical.
Well, let's talk about lavender.
Yeah.
And I'll put into context. I know nothing about lavender.
Yeah.
I know you can get it in a coffee, and there's scents that are lavender. Yeah. But aside from seeing some photos of probably the perfect day on the farm before they harvest it, and when it's all purple, and that's about all I know.
Well,
which is kind of sounds like a fairy tale.
Yeah, well, no, that's well said, because I can't tell you how many calls. I'll get calls in like November. Could we come to your fields and take wedding pictures? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, but in November everything looks brown and dead. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So those pictures, just so you know, the lavender farmer's secret is those pictures are in a week time. Because right when those flowers come to bloom is when you want to harvest.
Okay.
Right before the buds open.
Okay.
So that 2 or 3 day period is where all lavender farmers take their pictures.
Yeah. So when you guys go look on Google at lavender pictures, just know that was a 5 day period. For that.
Yeah. No, and people are like, it must be amazing to live in lavender fields. I'm like, it is for 5 days. I love it. But that said, each variety does come to bloom at different times. So we do get about a 2-month period.
Nice.
About a month and a half. So about mid-June to August sometime.
Okay. All right.
And it's gorgeous, and it's it also means a lot of work, and
of course.
But no, it's a lot of fun. So so lavender, it's used a lot for decoration. Like people will buy bunches like this just to hang in their house.
Okay.
And it creates a nice fragrance in the home.
Okay.
You can also burn it. We make lavender like smudge sticks that you actually burn, and it smells really beautiful. And so one smudge stick will.
Is it anything like a stick of incense?
Yeah.
In a like. Yeah. That kind of an idea.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just this bundle wrapped really tightly.
Oh.
So I just put it over the stove and I light it. And I walk around the house and then I put it under the sink, put it out. And then it's ready the next morning, and I can relight it again.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it just makes the house smell beautiful.
Oh.
So
I'm telling you guys, the smell right here is phenomenal. Yeah. I'm shocked.
Well, it's really funny you say that, because this variety right here is called Phenomenal.
Okay.
And it's actually the only variety we have, and I didn't know this, that you could do this, but it's trademarked. So I can't sell that as a plant. I can sell it as a cut lavender, but I can't take cuttings of that plant and sell it because it's trademarked. Amazing.
There's some things about America I love, and other things I can't believe it.
Yeah, so some guy actually invented that variety. I don't know how you do that. You splice it up, but he invented that variety. Okay. But yeah, so he has it trademarked. Right. But yeah, and then you have the tall one there is called Provence.
Okay.
Here's a couple of our varieties. This is called Melissa. They call it a rose, but it's really a white lavender.
Okay.
And we grow 2 varieties of white lavenders. We sell those a lot for weddings. People love having white lavender on the table, and it goes really nice with the blue.
It does.
This is a gorgeous one. This is a really small stalk. Look at how small that
tiny.
is.
Interesting.
But you can see the purple really pops on that. And that's called a Buena Vista.
Okay.
So it's really one of our prettiest purples and one of our shortest stalks.
Yeah.
And then you got the Provence with the really long stalk, isn't quite as purple.
No, definitely not.
So yeah, a lot of varieties. And then so we sell it as cut. We sell it fresh or dried, mostly dried. And then we also have a distiller, and we distill it. And we make essential oil.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then we put that in a variety of different products.
Okay.
Yeah. So lavender is really good for the nervous system.
Okay.
It's a nervine. It helps calm the nervous system. And there's been a lot of really interesting clinical studies, and so it's not oovy groovy. It's it's like pretty legit. And like, for example, if you rub it on the bottom of your feet, within 5 minutes, it's gone into the bloodstream and calms the nervous system.
Kidding.
Yeah, so a lot of people use it before bed.
Yes.
It's also amazing for cuts and burns. We just had a major burn in the kitchen recently, and we put lavender right on our burn, and it's just really good. It's antimicrobial, and it helps cells heal quickly. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so people use it for bug bites. It's really good I get stung by bees a lot here, and it's really good for bee stings and burns and bug bites.
And do you use the oil that you're referring to?
Yeah.
That's what you would put on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So typically essential oil, which I didn't know before I bought the farm, but essential oil as an essential oil is a toxin. So I see people put straight essential oil on them, and I'm like, don't do it,
Yeah.
because it's actually a toxin in that kind of level. So I wear gloves and everything when I'm making oil.
Okay.
But when you put essential oil in what's called a carrier oil,
Mhm.
like a coconut oil and almond oil, then that's what you would rub on your skin. That
Yeah.
said, when you put essential oil straight on the body, it's called neat application.
Okay.
And neat application of any essential oil, lavender is the safest. Some essential oils are really not safe at all. They're all toxins, but lavender is like you can get away with putting a little bit directly on the skin.
Okay.
So when I have a burn or cut, I put it just pure essential oil directly on the skin.
Yeah.
But you should never do that with kids, especially.
Okay.
And you should always have a carrier oil and mixed in.
Yeah.
But yeah, and distilling is a lot of fun.
Go through a little bit of that process.
So basically, you put the plant matter in a big metal bin, a big metal pot,
Okay.
and then it's pressure sealed. It's got water in the bottom. That water goes up. It's kind of a simple process, but it sounds a little complex. But that water goes up. It creates steam. That steam goes through the plant. Then what you want to do is you want to turn that steam back into a liquid. So it goes through these copper coils, which you may have seen from like old bootlegger movies and stuff.
Right,
yeah, because the same still used to make moonshine or whiskey or something. So then you're taking that steam, turning it back into the liquid.
Okay.
That liquid is now a mixture of two things, one called hydrosol and one called essential oil. So when that liquid comes out of the still, then only thing I have left to do is separate out the essential oil from the hydrosol.
Okay.
Essential oil floats, so it's easy to pull that out.
Huh.
And then hydrosol is not as well known in America, but it's really super popular in Europe.
Okay.
But hydrosol is a wonderful skin conditioner and hydration, and it's also super safe. You can think of it as like flower water, super pungent.
Okay.
It's very pungent. It's really intense. Like sometimes I'll just sniff hydrosol instead of coffee because it wakes you right up.
Oh.
It's like, whoa, it's like intense. But when you cut it with water, distilled water, it's really perfectly safe. I spray it on myself all the time at the farm. You can drink it. We were making hydrosol cocktails one time, just messing around with different juices and hydrosol.
Interesting.
So I sell, for people that know about hydrosol, I sell a lot of that at the farmer's market.
Okay.
And people that don't know, it's always like, what is that?
Yeah.
But other people are like, do you have hydrosol?
Yeah,
They're like, oh, good. It's so hard to get fresh
that's
hydrosol.
actually really neat that you get two
products
from that process.
Yeah, and sometimes so there's only a couple of varieties I'll distill for essential oil.
Okay.
But there's virtually any variety I'll distill for hydrosol. So sometimes I actually am distilling and I'm discarding the essential oil.
Okay.
Because it's a little too what would be the word, like medicinal smelling to when anybody would want to use it. Or I keep it for myself, but it doesn't have that beautiful fragrance.
Right.
So
that's fascinating.
There's one variety called Grasso, which we use for oil a lot.
Okay.
It's called the Lavender Farmer's Workhorse. It's good for anything.
Gotcha.
And Grasso is that one closest to you right there.
This guy poking out here. Okay.
So
workhorse, huh?
Yeah. So we'll use that. Now we talked a little bit about culinary. So a lot of people don't like lavender because it's like I feel like I'm eating perfume or something.
Yes. That's probably a really good way to experience or to explain my experience.
Yeah, and you're not alone in that.
Okay.
So there are a couple things. One, it does a little bit taste like that, but two is you're probably having the wrong variety.
Okay.
So every type of variety has different levels of camphor. Camphor is that kind of mentholy taste. So you want really low camphor.
Yep.
And so when you have so we grow really only two for culinary. And one is called Fulgate, and the other is the white Melissa. But but people want the color, so I mostly just sell the Fulgate now.
Yeah.
And Fulgate has a very low camphor rate. If you go get a lavender scone at Pangea, they're using our lavender.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and that's just so you want the right kind of lavender.
Makes sense.
And oftentimes, if you're buying it online, or it's probably a mixture, or it might not be specifically. So try it again with the right kind.
No, and that's what I told my wife. I'm like, I just imagine I haven't tried the right one.
Yeah, and it's like it also a little goes a long way.
Okay.
You want a little hint of it, but like I had we tried on everything. Just
makes sense
to try it out. But we did lavender gravy on mashed potatoes, and I was like, just doesn't
We're
work.
drawing the line right there.
But I like it on sweet stuff.
Okay, that makes sense.
But we sell lavender. We also sell some different salts and herb mixtures, and we sell a lavender salt that I love on pancakes. Because the salt brings out the maple syrup a little bit, and then just a little hint of lavender, and it's divine. And then my partner Ann makes a really good lavender granola that's just fantastic.
That sounds good.
Yeah, but it's not for everybody.
Okay.
What
do you guys? What all do you sell?
So we sell.
How can people?
We are at the farmers market.
Okay.
We haven't been there this summer. I just need a little break.
Yeah.
But we'll probably be there again soon. But we're mostly at the farmers market in Prescott, and that's the only place we sell, and a little bit at Pangea.
Nice.
We also sold at Nectar Apothecary, but sadly they're closing.
Okay.
But we sell at Pangea and then farmers market.
Okay.
And that's really it.
Yep.
We're thinking about doing mail order, but I just have my hands full, and I just.
Not enough time in the day yet.
But we might.
Yeah. Now, you've harvested, we're at the end of September. Or sorry, or it's already September 1st. I meant end of August.
Yeah, right.
Have you harvested everything that you will for this season?
Yeah, the viewers can't see, but we're sitting in a field, and you can tell there's no flowers out there.
Okay.
So all the harvesting ends, it really depends on the weather.
Of course.
But it ends around, I would say, August 10th or something.
Okay.
Everything's harvested.
So then, actually talk a little bit about that. Do you literally go out and hand cut?
Hand cut with a sickle.
Okay.
It looks like a little sickle, and you just grab it like a handful. And so
Then what do you do with it?
Then I put a rubber band on it, and we take it to the drying shed.
Okay.
And then it dries. Takes about a week for it to dry.
Okay.
But I talked to farmers in the Northwest, and they're looking at
it's
2 months
it's
to
a
dry.
swamp there. Yeah,
and
makes sense.
And they have fans, and they have to have heaters and stuff. Here I just put it in a little shed, and I come back a week later.
Yeah,
so every different
sense.
climate has its own challenges. We luck out with drying.
The dry in
Very
that case.
easy.
So then what?
And then it goes in big bins, and it can stay in a bin for, it can stay for 5 years.
Okay.
But we have a pretty quick turnover, so it'll be totally fresh. The smell, because the bins are airtight,
okay,
so it stays in there until it sells till the next year.
Okay.
And then, but again, I only keep a little bit for dried. Most of it probably goes in the still.
Okay.
This year we lost about, I would say, a fourth of the harvest.
Oh my gosh!
To a late frost. I forget what the date was. We had a really late frost because everything was blooming.
Huge.
Yeah, it was huge. Everything was blooming, and then we were 21 degrees one night. And I was like, and I came out and about a fourth of everything was dead. And then we lost this year a fourth to grasshoppers. And I don't know if you've noticed walking around.
Yes.
They're unbelievable out here.
Gotcha. So basically they're pests.
They're pests.
In this amount.
In this amount. Normally it's not a big deal. But, man, they really wrecked it this year.
Oh, my goodness.
And because lavender, most insects aren't interested in lavender. Because it's kind of a repellent.
The smell. That's what I was going to think.
And grasshoppers haven't been a problem in the past. And this year they just stripped all the flowers. So I would come out to plants, and it would just be stalks with no flowers. So this year was hard, which also is like, maybe I'll take the summer off from the farmer's market.
Well, you don't have as much product.
No,
either, right?
But unfortunately the workload is the same.
Yeah, true.
Because you're really working all year just to get that one harvest.
Yeah, fascinating.
And then so after harvest, in about a month, I'll move into, I have to come back to every single plant and trim it, ball it. So if you look at like some of these plants, they have like bare stalks coming
Yep.
up. So those will dry out, and I have to make sure those are all out of there by the time the next harvest comes. So I go through with just, clippers, and I just ball each plant.
All right.
And it takes a long time.
That's a lot. Yeah, your back's going to be...
Yeah,
really
and I have 2 herniated discs, and it really puts me out. I know.
Oh man.
So this year's been tough. And normally I have so there's an organization called Worldwide Workers.
Oh yeah, tell people about
on
that.
organic farms, and it's just kids that travel and work on organic farms. And so normally I have some kids out here helping me. I say kids, it's really anywhere from 20-year-olds to 40-year-olds or 50-year-olds even. People that just want a break. I get I got recently a request from just somebody who worked in the hospital in Phoenix.
Oh.
She's like, I just want to come up there a couple days a week and just work.
Yeah.
So for some people it's just therapy.
Yes.
Like I just want to garden and not worry about anything.
Detached from things.
And I did it when I was a kid, and it was a great experience.
Yes.
I traveled all over and just worked on different farms, and you learn a lot. And
Yeah, absolutely. Meet a lot of really neat people, have a lot of really good experiences.
Yeah, and it's low commitment when you're done. You can be like, oh, I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of kids come out here, and they love it because it's such a beautiful spot, and that helps me a lot with the farming work. Yeah. This year, because of COVID, it was a one-man operation, so it was really rough on the back. But yeah, that's the lavender cycle.
That's basically the lavender life.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it is beautiful. And like I say, I just love the plant. And when in season, you have to come back next year. It's just gorgeous out here.
I bet
it's really stunning. So aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of wildlife. We have a nighttime camera that triggers motion detector,
Yeah. What's around?
So we have bobcats, which are beautiful. Of course, a lot of javelina, a lot of deer. None of them cause any problems to the plants. Great. So foxes, of course, coyotes, and of course a lot of rabbits. Yeah. But it's just...
Are we more or less in Tonto National Forest?
Yeah, we are. Okay. Yeah, well, I guess it's Prescott National Forest.
Or Prescott National Forest.
But there is a Tonto, isn't there?
That's what made me... you're right, though. Prescott National Forest.
Yeah, so we're in Prescott National Forest.
I wish you guys could see the view from here, because Will took me up to a little hill on their property and tell them what you can see. I mean, you can literally see almost all around.
Yeah, it's basically 360 and just gorgeous view of different mountains, Tonto Peak, and then a really gorgeous view of the backside of Granite Mountain.
A view that no one has ever seen, pretty much.
Yeah, it's really stunning. And that's really kind of one thing that sold us on the property. And we just go up there, morning tea, and it's like, oh, it's stunning.
It's nice.
Sunset and sunrises.
Yeah.
And also one unique thing about this property is we're actually hunkered down, and we have these beautiful, mature emery oaks all around.
Okay.
And as you
notice...
Is
that what this guy is right here?
And as you notice driving in, it's all barren, know. And then you pull into this property, and it's really forested, and it's a big canopy of trees. So a lot of shade, and then a couple of high points where you can just get this beautiful overlook. So
it is beautiful out here.
Yeah, and we've really fallen in love with it.
Good. Couple more things to wrap it up.
Yeah, sure.
Tell... you have an interesting relationship with the Prescott area. You were here some years ago for school. Now you're back. Just talk about the greater Prescott area and what it is that you enjoy.
I mean, we were talking about this a little before, but the weather's great.
Yeah.
Although this summer's been brutal.
It's been warm.
I have not ever had such a warm summer.
Okay.
I probably lived in Prescott a total 10 years, and it's been a warm summer. But I do love the weather. And mostly I love the National Forest. I'm going to spend a lot of time out in the backcountry. Yeah. And I just love that about it. I do wish Prescott was a little more diverse. That's the one thing that's a little bit hard. Moving here from bigger cities but super cute. I love Jazz on the Square and that kind of stuff. Yep. And I love the lakes. So probably 1 or 2 mornings a week, I'll wake up really early and I'll go out onto Willow Lake on my kayak. And it's just like, and I can be back to the farm by 8 o'clock in the morning, and I've already done some rowing and it's paddling, and it's like,
I'm so glad you do that.
Yeah. Oh,
Good
it's
job.
The best. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And right now there must be a bald eagle nest, because every time I go out there I see bald eagles.
There's one at Goldwater right now.
Oh, is there? Yeah. But yeah, and Willow Lake, I've been seeing a lot of them.
Good.
But yeah, so I love that about it, and just all the hiking, and just some wonderful people here. It's fun moving back after 25 years because a lot of the people, my professors, I still know, and I love collaborating with them.
That's neat.
And it's just been fun to have that community. I also have for about 28 years now or something, I've played music for the dance company Human Nature.
Okay.
And we're based out of Flagstaff and Prescott. And so moving back, I was able to reconnect with that, and just love working with dancers.
How much time do you spend playing music these days?
Well, these days none.
Okay.
But music I play daily. I mean, I play in my home. But working with dancers, we used to get together a couple weeks a year and do intensive shows. Do the show every year at Arcosani, and then some shows up at Coconino Center for the Arts.
Good.
And, so that's been a lot of fun.
All right.
Yeah, and I love that aspect, the creative arts aspect of the Prescott area.
Yeah, there's a big music.
Yeah,
there's a lot of musicians.
Yeah, there are a lot
area.
of musicians. Yeah, so that's a lot of fun too.
Good. All right.
Yeah, but it's just the forest here, so exquisite.
It's
endless.
Where we're at is off the charts, and you shared that almost every morning you simply walk off your property and you have countless hikes that you can just set sail on, and there's
my neighbor has kind of marked all of these different loops, and they're kind of like these secret loops, and she's slowly teaching them to me, and it's
cool.
Any morning I can choose from basically a mile to like a 7-mile loop, depending on what I'm in the mood for. And it's like, and they're just gorgeous.
It is gorgeous out here.
And, see all kinds of crazy wildlife. And, some of it is, just how wildlife can be. It's beautiful and shocking, and,
absolutely
seeing coyotes take down fawns, and it's like stuff you would never come across.
It's the Discovery Channel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what that is.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then,
that's really neat.
I don't know if tonight, but usually we have vultures come land in the trees right above us every evening. Yeah, we have
vultures around here?
Yeah, we have about 8 vultures that come almost every night.
Okay.
And then they're late sleepers, so they don't take off till about 10 a.m.
Okay.
And then they're not back till about 5 p.m.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it's kind of wild.
When you get off the grid, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't have cell service out here, which I think is a blessing. At first, we didn't know that. And then I was like, oh my God. And I was like,
of course.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah. Well, you shared you have a satellite, so you can do some of the seminar
Wi-Fi
things.
Yeah.
No, there's definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cell phones have their place.
Yeah,
but it's challenging in town when I have service all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm working on getting better.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. It's just a challenge.
It's too much sometimes.
It's an addiction for sure.
All right. 2 quick things as we wrap up. I'm going to ask you 7 rapid fire questions, and you simply ask or answer what comes to mind.
All right.
Here we go. What's your favorite thing about Greater Prescott?
I would say the forests.
What's your favorite restaurant in Greater Prescott?
God, it used to be John's Chop House, which just closed, but I would say it's probably Bigger. Yeah,
love John.
Yeah,
love Cassie. They're great, and the food top notch.
And it's really the most farm to table restaurant in town. I mean, I think it's they just really are dedicated to shopping from farmers. Yep. They've used my lavender, and but the food is fantastic.
Food's fantastic.
But a lot of great chefs in town here.
There are. Mm-hmm. What's the number one thing on your Greater Prescott bucket list?
Oh gosh. Places I want to explore more.
Okay.
Yeah. I love Wolf Creek and like to kind of hike the whole thing. Oh, actually, one thing is walk from here to downtown.
Okay.
Because you can get to Prescott all through National Forest from the house here. And I really want to do that.
That sounds... Could you do it in a day?
I think you could. It'd be a long day.
Day.
About 20-mile day.
Okay.
But you could do it. Yeah. So
that's a great bucket list item.
I'm working up to that.
Yeah.
It'd just be fun. And it's bushwhacking the whole way. But it's a straight shot because you have Thumb Butte to guide you.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
It's just... And that's where you would
That's where you'd come out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
What's your favorite variety?
I like Phenomenal, actually, this one.
Okay.
And I just think it's really elegant somehow. It's just, I just love it. I think it's beautiful. long stalk,
Yep.
and the flavors. To me, one of the sweetest flavors
Okay.
smells, not flavors, the smells.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say that's
It's
my
neat
favorite.
how you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had me smell all 12
Yeah.
varieties, I might tell just nuances,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know.
And it took me about 3 years. I don't have a skilled nose or anything.
Okay.
Some people do, I don't drink anymore, but when I used to drink, I was really into wine, and I'm just not a natural, like,
Yeah.
I can't, I was
Pick
really
it out. Yeah.
struggling, but so slowly I've gotten to know.
All right.
Yeah.
What are 3 words to describe living in Greater Prescott?
3 words. Well, for me here, I would say it's silence, quiet, big skies. Those are 2 words, but we'll smush them together. And just 4 seasons. I love 4 seasons. Yeah. I have 3 sleds. I love being able to pull them out.
Yes.
And so I think those are kind of 3 of the ones that hit me.
If you weren't a lavender farmer or a seminar person, what would you be doing?
That's a great question. I love people. So years ago, when I was in college, I was worked for an older couple. They called me their rent-a-grandson.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Yeah, they were in their 90s, the Williams, and I would just come over and thread needles for them, or I'd take Lois out she wanted to go to the bar one day and shoot pool, or we'd just do stuff like that. But Henry, the husband, always told me, you got to get into hotel management.
Okay.
Because that's what he did, and he was just like protective, like, what are you wasting your life on psychology? But now that I'm like, God, I think I would really like that. Like, hotel management sounds really fun, like a boutique hotel or something.
Yeah, where you could spend some time with the people.
Yeah,
I've always more relational.
Yeah, I've always seen such potential in Hassayampa, and I just like, I ache to kind of bring it to its full potential. It's such a beautiful building.
I agree.
Like, it could be really
with
so
vibrant.
Many
unique people coming through.
Yeah. I lived in Tucson right when Hotel Congress kind of changed to come. It was old school, kind of run down, and then somebody came in, saw the potential, and now it's really like a premier spot in town, and it's like really a hub for so much life. And every time I see Hassayampa, it's like, that could be that.
I would love to be part of something like that.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
Yeah, really.
And it's just such a beautiful building. I just see it so underutilized. But so hotel management.
Okay.
I haven't thought that out before. Never said that out loud, but that's what comes to mind.
And last question, what is your favorite summer activity in Greater Prescott?
Oh, I have to say this summer it's leaving.
Because it's been so warm.
Because it's been so warm. But otherwise it's morning paddles.
Okay.
On the lake. Yeah, the summer is hard. I also love the farmers market. Farmers market has been really fun for me. It's just a great group of people, and I love talking with folks.
Yes.
And, it's been a real. I knew I would love it. Before I started farming, I was like, I would love to do farmers markets.
Yeah.
And it's run by. It's just everybody involved is so wonderful.
That's it. Yeah, everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys all largely do you have a connection that's pretty deep.
Yeah, and the ranchers and the farmers, and it's just such a wonderful group of people.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Yeah, I really love those Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
I look forward to getting back to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last thing.
Yeah.
Tell people how they can get in contact with you, the farm, things like that.
Well, we do have a website. I'm really bad at keeping up on it. Really, the easiest way is to reach out to us at the farmers market. But we're at skullvalleylavender.com. We also have a YouTube channel where we kind of film a lot of life on the farm.
Nice.
And that's it's Will Duncan. You look up Will Duncan on YouTube and you can find that channel. And we're just starting to do more and more of that, which I just found out is a trend. A lot of farmers now are starting to do YouTube channels because it can sometimes bring in more income than the farming itself.
It wouldn't surprise me.
And I didn't realize that side of it. I just love to share and film. Like you, I've just always been interested in filmmaking, and it's such a great palette out here to work with.
I was going to say, just from a consumer standpoint, I think it would be fascinating. or I should say it like this, while the lavender is really interesting, simply the lifestyle of how that comes about is really even more interesting. And so I could see how people would absolutely connect. Almost from a sense of, I kind of wish I did that. So I want to watch someone who does that.
Totally,
it just, you almost live vicariously through someone else.
And I love watching some of these farming channels. I've found a few, and I'm like, oh, they're so fun. You know?
They are.
And also to see the drama and the trauma of it all. It's like,
the drama and
because then you're also like, I'm so glad I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But it's fun, and it's really fun to share. Because otherwise I work out here alone all the time.
I was gonna say,
and it's like I don't get to share with many people. And then doing some of the YouTube channels, which I just started this year, and it's been really fun.
Good.
To kind of have a larger audience to share it with.
Yeah. Well, I encourage you to keep doing it.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Because there's people who will absolutely connect and just love it.
No, it's so fun. Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much
great
for your
to meet
time.
you, Matt. Yeah, great. Wonderful.
You guys, I hope you learned a little bit something about lavender. I wish we could take you through the sights and the smells a little more than just sitting at the table and talking. But come meet them at the farmer's market. I'll put up all the information so people can connect with you.
Sounds good.
I have found it fascinating.
Yeah, no.
One of the things that I have found as I've done the podcast is I connect with just unique things, and to me this is so unique. A lavender farm, here in the Prescott area.
Well, that's the thing, and that's what I hope people appreciate is like we have our own local lavender farm, and I'm really grateful to people like Nicole over at Pangea who like really are taking advantage of that. Like how wonderful, like we have that. So and so many people support this place, and I really appreciate that.
That's
it's like
awesome.
Some people really value that. Oh, we have a lavender farm here, and we do community events out here, and it's just to try to open it up to people. Yeah, so
the sun just went down, guys, and it is.
And right behind you, we have a full moon rising.
It's
gorgeous,
so beautiful out here. Like I think I want to live vicariously through your YouTube channel. There's something great about it.
Yeah, it's
so thank you for your time. I genuinely appreciate it. You're busy. You work a ton, and I'm grateful that you followed up with me so that I could come out here.
Yeah, thanks.
So I hope you guys learned something. I'll put all of Will's information up about the farm. Stop by the farmer's market when he does, in fact, get up and going back to the farm. On the whole, the farmer's market is an amazing place to go meet people.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And to see what is going on in our area. A lot of people who are just really passionate about what they do. And while it's not on a huge scale, it's on just such a passionate scale that it's hard to beat.
Yeah, it's pretty
hard
cool.
to beat. So you guys, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.